The metal chains around Captain Lee Hanna's wrists were cold. They bit into her skin every time the alien ship shook. She sat on the floor of the prison cell, her back against the wall. Her military uniform was torn and bloody, but her eyes were still sharp and angry. 3 days ago, she was the captain of the human ship New Dawn. Now, she was a prisoner on an alien warship called Void's Edge. The ship belonged to the Corvan Empire. They had been attacking human colonies for 3 years. Every attack was worse than the last. Hannah closed her eyes and remembered the battle. Her ship was protecting the farming world of New Busan. 20,000 families lived there. They grew food that fed millions of people across human space. The Corvans wanted to take it. The New Dawn was not a big ship. It only had 40 crew members, but they were good fighters. Hannah had trained them well. When the Corvan fleet arrived, her ship fought hard. They destroyed 2 enemy ships before the aliens got too close. But there were too many Corvans. They broke through the New Dawn's shields. Their soldiers came aboard like angry animals. Hannah's crew fought them in the hallways. They used everything. They had guns, knives, even their bare hands. Her brother Kim Tae died in the engine room. He was only 22 years old. The best pilot she ever knew. A Corvan soldier shot him while he was trying to keep the ship's power running. Hannah found his body later. His young face was peaceful, like he was sleeping. Park Jina died on the bridge. She was 45 and had been flying ships since she was 16. She threw herself at 3 Corvan soldiers to give Hannah time to destroy the ship's computer. The aliens cut her down with energy swords, but the computer was destroyed. The got no information about human defenses. BHNO was the last one alive when the fighting stopped. She stood in the middle of the bridge, holding her pistol. It was empty. She had used all her bullets. 15 Corvan soldiers surrounded her. Their weapons were pointed at her chest. "Surrender, human," their leader had said in broken human language. "You fight well. Commander wants to see you." Hannah had thrown her empty gun at his feet. She did not say anything. There was nothing to say. Her ship was dead. Her crew was dead. The colony below would fall soon. Now she was here, in this cold metal box. The Corvans fed her once a day. The food tasted like metal and made her stomach hurt, but she ate it anyway. She needed to stay strong. Maybe there would be a chance to escape. Maybe she could warn other human ships about Corvan tactics. The cell door opened with a loud noise. 2 Corvan guards walked in. They were tall and thin, with grey skin and 4 arms. Their faces looked like lizards, but with bigger teeth. They wore black armor that covered most of their bodies. "Commander wants to see prisoner," one of them said. His voice was rough and deep. They pulled Hannah to her feet. The chains on her wrists were connected to chains on her ankles. She could walk, but not run. The guards pushed her out of the cell and down a long hallway. The inside of the Corvan ship was different from human ships. Everything was made of dark metal. Strange symbols were carved into the walls. The air smelled like oil and something else she could not name. Something that made her think of death. They walked for 10 minutes. The hallway was full of Corvan soldiers. They all stopped to stare at Hannah. Some of them made hissing sounds. Others showed their teeth in what might have been smiles. None of them looked friendly. The guards stopped at a big door. It was twice as tall as Hannah and covered in metal spikes. One guard pressed his hand against a panel. The door opened slowly. Inside was the biggest room Hannah had ever seen on a ship. The walls were lined with glass cases. Each case held something horrible. The head of a creature she did not recognize. The claws of something that must have been huge when it was alive. Weapons from different worlds, and skulls. Lots of skulls dotted. The center of the room sat Commander Vrextal. Hannah had heard his name before. Human intelligence said he was one of the worst Corvan leaders. He had destroyed 12 different species. Now he was working on making humans number 13. Vrextar was bigger than the other Corvans. His skin was darker gray, almost black. Scars covered his arms and chest. His teeth were longer and sharper. When he looked at Hannah, his yellow eyes seemed to glow. "So this is a human captain," he said. His voice was smooth, like oil on water. "I expected something more, impressive." Hannah said nothing. She looked around the room. Instead, she counted the exits. She looked for weapons. She studied the glass cases. Everything might be useful later. "Your species interests me. Human." Rexdal continued. "You fight harder than most. But you always lose in the end. Do you know why?" Hannah met his eyes, but did not speak. "You fight for others," the commander said. "Your crew, your colonies, your families. This makes you weak. We Corvins fight for ourselves, for glory, for the hunt. This makes us strong." He stood up and walked to one of the glass cases. Inside was the head of something that looked almost human, but with blue skin and silver hair. "This was Captain Zelkar of the Anthony fleet," Rexdal said. "His people fought us for 20 years. He was their greatest hero." Their children sang songs about him. "Do you know where his people are now?" Hannah knew. Everyone in human space knew. The Anthony were gone. All of them dead. Rexdal said, "Every last one. Because their hero thought he could save them. Just like you thought you could save your little farming world." The commander walked back to his chair. He sat down and smiled. His teeth were like knives. "New Busan fell 6 hours ago," he said. "My ground forces are loading the survivors onto transport ships. They will work in our mines until they die. The children will be raised as slaves. The world will grow food for Corvin soldiers instead of human families." Hannah felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. But she did not let it show on her face. She had been a soldier for 15 years. She knew how to hide her feelings. "Want to kill me?" she said. It was the first time she had spoken since her capture. "Oh no, human," Rexdal said. "Killing you would be too easy. Too quick. I have something much better planned for you." He pressed a button on his chair. A screen appeared in the air above them. It showed a huge building with tall walls and thousands of seats. "The Grand Arena of Keth Prime," Rexdal said. "Every important person in the Corvin Empire will be there. They will watch you fight our greatest champion. They will see how weak humans really are. And when you die, your death will be broadcast to every human world. Your people will know that resistance is hopeless." Hannah looked at the screen. The arena was enormous. She had heard stories about Corvin gladiator fights. No alien had ever survived them. "Your champion," she said. "What is his name?" "Thakma, the Bone Crusher," Rexdal said with pride. "He has fought 57 times. He has never lost. The species of his victims no longer exist. You will be his 58th victory." The commander leaned forward in his chair. "But do not worry, human. I will preserve your head carefully. You will have a place of honor in my collection. Future generations of Corvins will look at you and remember the day we broke the human spirit forever." Hannah nodded slowly. She looked around the room one more time. At the weapons, at the exits, at the glass cases full of dead heroes. "When do we fight?" she asked. Rexdal's smile grew wider. "Tomorrow," he said. "Rest well, Captain Lee." "Hannah will be your last night alive." The guards grabbed her arms and pulled her toward the door. As they walked her back to the cell, Hannah thought about Tay and Gina, about the families on New Busan, about all the human worlds that would fall if the Corvins were not stopped. She had been raised on Docto Station, a mining world at the edge of human space. Life there was hard. The local animals were bigger and meaner than anything on Earth. Her father had taught her to hunt them with nothing but a knife and her wits. Sometimes, he had told her when she was 12, the best way to kill a monster is to make it think. You are prey. Then, when it gets close, you show it what humans really are. Back in her cell, Hannah sat against the wall and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would face Thakma, the Bone Crusher. The Corvins expected her to die quickly and badly. They were going to be very surprised. The transport ship landed with a hard bump. Hannah felt the metal floor shake under her feet. She was still in chains, but now there were 10 Corvin guards around her instead of 2. They were taking no chances. "Move, human," one guard said. Pushed her toward the door with his weapon. Hannah walked slowly. The chains made it hard to take big steps, but she used the time to look around. The transport ship was small and old. The walls had rust spots. The guards looked nervous. This told her something important. They were afraid of her. Good. The door opened. Bright light hit Hannah's eyes. She had been in the dark prison for 3 days. The light hurt at first, then her eyes got used to it. What she saw made her stop walking. The grand arena of Keth Prime was huge, bigger than anything she had ever seen. The walls went up so high she could not see the top. Thousands and thousands of seats filled with Corvan aliens. The noise they made was like thunder. 200,000 Corvans, one guard said with pride, all here to watch you die. The arena floor was far below them. It was covered with yellow sand. Hannah could see dark spots in the sand. Old blood from other fights. Around the edges were weapon racks and water stations. In the center was a raised platform with a big chair. That was where the most important Corvans would sit. The guards pushed Hannah down a long ramp. It curved around the arena wall. As they walked, more and more Corvans saw her. The noise got louder. They were not cheering. They were making sounds like angry animals. Some threw pieces of food at her. Others spit. Hannah ignored them. She was studying the arena. The sand looked deep. That was good. It would slow down a big opponent. The weapon racks were spread out. That was also good. It meant she could move from one to another if she was smart about it. The walls around the arena floor were smooth metal, no way to climb them. But there were small doors every 50 feet. Probably for bringing in new fighters or removing dead ones. She counted 12 doors total. They reached the bottom of the ramp. Now Hannah was at arena level. The noise from above was so loud it made her ears hurt. A Corvan in fancy clothes walked up to them. He had gold jewelry and a cape made from some kind of fur. I am Arena Master Kothal, he said. You will follow the old rules. No killing until the horn sounds. No weapons except what is given to you. Fight until one of you is dead. Do you understand, human? I understand, Hannah said. Good, your opponent is preparing. You will wait in the holding cell. The guards pushed her through one of the small doors. Inside was a tiny room with stone walls. There was a bench and a bucket of water, nothing else. The door closed behind her with a loud bang. Hannah sat on the bench and drank some water. It tasted clean. The Corvans wanted her healthy for the fight. They wanted their audience to see a good show before she died. She could hear the crowd getting louder. Someone was speaking over a sound system, but she could not understand the words. Then she heard a name that made her blood cold, Thakmar, the Bone Crusher. The crowd went crazy. They screamed and roared. The sound was so loud that dust fell from the ceiling of her cell. This went on for 5 minutes. When it finally got quiet, Hannah knew her opponent was in the arena. The door to her cell opened. Arena Master Kothal stood there with 6 guards. Time to die, human, he said. They walked her out onto the arena floor. The sand was hot under her feet. The sun was bright overhead, and the noise was like being inside a storm. But Hannah was not looking at the crowd. She was looking at her opponent. Thakmar, the Bone Crusher, was the biggest living thing she had ever seen. He was 12 feet tall and covered in muscle. His skin was dark red with black spots. He had 4 arms, each one as thick as Hannah's whole body. His hands ended in claws that looked like knives. But the worst part was his face. It was shaped like a human face, but wrong. His eyes were too small and too close together. His mouth was too wide, with teeth like broken glass. When he saw Hannah, he smiled. The smile made her think of nightmares. Thakmar carried 2 huge clubs. They were made of metal and covered in spikes. Each club was longer than Hannah was tall. When he moved them, the air made a whistling sound. The crowd loved him. They chanted his name over and over. Some of them held up signs with pictures of his past victories. Hannah saw drawings of creatures being crushed and torn apart. Arena Master Kothal walked to the center of the arena. He raised his hands for quiet. It took a long time, but finally the crowd stopped yelling. Citizens of the Corvan Empire, his voice boomed across the arena. Today we have a special treat. This human claims to be a warrior from the species that dares to fight us. The crowd booed and hissed. She is Captain Lee Hanna of the human military. Her ship tried to stop our glorious conquest of New Buz. She failed, as all humans fail. More booing. Someone threw a bottle that broke near Hanna's feet, but Commander Vrexdal, in his wisdom, has brought her here. You will see for yourselves how weak the human species really is. You will watch as our champion destroys their so-called warrior. The crowd cheered. Arena Master Kothal pointed at the weapon racks. Choose your weapons. Thakma did not move. He already had his clubs. But Hanna walked slowly to the nearest rack. The crowd got quiet, watching her. The weapons were all made for aliens. Most were too big for human hands. But there was one that looked right, a short sword with a straight blade. It was simple and sharp. The handle fit her hand perfectly. She picked it up and tested its weight. It was lighter than her military knife, but well balanced. The blade was about 2 feet long. Against Thakma's huge clubs, it looked like a toy. Is that all, human? Arena Master Kothal asked. One small blade. It is enough, Hanna said. The crowd laughed. Even some of the guards were smiling. Only Thakma was not laughing. He was staring at Hanna with his small eyes. Something about the way she moved made him think twice. Take your positions, Arena Master Kothal commanded Hanna. Walked to one side of the arena. Thakma stomped to the other side. The sand shook under his feet with each step. The crowd fell silent, waiting. In the place of honor, Commander Vrexdal sat in his big chair. He was smiling. Around him, other Corvan officers were placing bets. They were not betting on who would win. They were betting on how long Hanna would last. 1 minute, said one officer. Less, said another. Thakma will crush her with his first swing. But there was one old Corvan who did not bet. He had white scars all over his body and one missing eye. He had seen many battles in his long life. He watched the human carefully. Something is wrong, he whispered to the officer next to him. What do you mean? The other Corvan asked. Look at her feet. Look at how she holds the blade. This one knows how to fight. She is tiny. Thakma could step on her. The old Corvan shook his head. Size is not everything. I have seen smaller predators kill much larger prey. But no one listened to him. Everyone was too excited about the coming slaughter. Arena Master Kothal raised a horn to his lips. The crowd held its breath. Let the battle begin. The horn sounded. Its deep note echoed across the arena. Thakma roared and charged. His arms swung the massive clubs in wide circles. Sand flew up around his feet. The crowd screamed with joy. But Hanna did not run. She did not freeze with fear. Instead, she did something that made the entire arena fall silent. She smiled, not a happy smile, not a scared smile, a cold smile that reached her eyes and made them shine like ice. It was the smile of a predator that had just spotted its prey. Then, she began to move. Hanna did not charge at Thakma. She moved to the side, light and fast. Her feet barely touched the sand. When Thakma's first club swing came down where she had been standing, she was already somewhere else. The crowd expected her to run away. Instead, she ran toward him. Thakma swung his second club at her head. Hanna dropped to her knees and slid under it. The club whistled through the air above her. Before Thakma could bring it back, she was on her feet again, moving to his left side. Her sword flicked out. Just once, quick as a snake, striking. A thin line of purple blood appeared on Thakma's leg. The giant looked down in surprise. The cut was small, it did not hurt much. But no one had ever made him bleed in the first 10 seconds of a fight. The arena was completely quiet now. 200,000 Corvans watched in shock as their champion touched the blood on his leg. Hanna was already moving again. She circled him like a shark swimming around a wounded whale. Her eyes never left his face. Her sword was ready. Thakma roared in anger and swung both clubs at once. But Hannah was not there. She was behind him now. Her sword flickered again. Another cut appeared on his back leg. The crowd began to murmur. This was not how these fights usually went. In his place of honor, Commander Vrextal stopped smiling. He leaned forward in his chair, his yellow eyes fixed on the human. "What is she doing?" he whispered. The old scarred Corvin next to him knew exactly what she was doing. "She is hunting," he said. Thakma spun around to face Hannah. Purple blood dripped from the cuts on his legs. His small eyes were full of rage. No one had ever made him bleed so fast. No one had ever moved like this human moved. "Stand still and die," he roared in the Corvin language. But Hannah did not understand his words. And even if she did, she would not have listened. She was too busy studying him. The way he moved, the way he breathed, the way his muscles worked when he swung his clubs. Thak was strong, stronger than anything she had ever fought. But strength was not everything. Her father had taught her that on Dokdo Station, the biggest animals are not always the most dangerous, he had said. A razor cat weighs 50 pounds. A stone bear weighs 2,000 pounds. But the razor cat can kill the stone bear if it knows how. Hannah knew how. She started running. Not away from Thakma, but around him. She stayed just out of reach of his clubs. Every few seconds, she would dart in and make a small cut. Then she would dance away before he could hit her. Cut his arm, move away, cut his side, move away, cut his other leg, move away. Each cut was tiny, but there were many of them, and Hannah knew exactly where to make them. She had studied alien anatomy during her military training. She knew where the important blood vessels were. She knew which muscles controlled movement. She knew where the nerve clusters were. The crowd did not understand what they were seeing. Corvin fights were usually fast and brutal. One fighter would overpower the other in a few minutes. But this fight was different. It was slow, it was careful. It was like watching a dance, but it was not a beautiful dance. It was the dance of death. After 10 minutes, Thakma was bleeding from 20 different cuts. None of them were deep, but together, they were draining his strength. His breathing was getting harder. His swings were getting slower. Why does she not finish him? One Corvin in the crowd asked. She is playing with him, another answered. Like a cat plays with a mouse, but the old scarred Corvin knew better. She is not playing, she is working. Every cut has a purpose. Commander Vrextal was getting worried. This was not going according to his plan. The human was supposed to die quickly. Her death was supposed to show the galaxy how weak humans were. Instead, she was making his champion look weak. End this. He shouted at Thakma, "Kill her now." Thakma heard his commander's voice. He roared with rage and charged at Hannah with all 4 arms swinging. His clubs moved so fast they made the air scream. But Hannah was ready. She had been waiting. For him to lose control, angry fighters made mistakes, and mistakes could be used. She dropped flat on the sand as the clubs whistled over her head. Then she rolled between Thakma's legs and came up behind him. Her sword found the big tendon behind his right knee. She cut it cleanly. Thakma's leg buckled. He fell forward onto one knee. His right arm hit the sand to stop himself from falling. Completely dipped for a moment, he could not move. That moment was all Hannah needed. She ran up his back like it was a ramp. Her sword found the nerve cluster at the base of his neck. She did not cut deep, just deep enough. Thakma's left arm went numb. He dropped one of his clubs. The crowd gasped. Hannah jumped down and rolled away before he could grab her with his remaining good arms. She came up running, already looking for her next target. "Impossible," whispered a Corvin officer. "No one has ever disarmed Thakma." "The human is fast," said another. "Speed is not enough," said a third. "She is too small. When he catches her, it will be over." But Hannah had no intention of being caught. She had learned patience on Dokdo Station. The razor cats there could hunt for hours without stopping. They would follow their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then they would move in for the kill. Humans were persistent hunters too. On old Earth, They had chased animals for miles and miles until the animals could not run anymore. Hannah's ancestors had been the best hunters in the galaxy. She carried their skills in her blood. Thakma struggled to his feet. His right leg would barely hold his weight. His left arm hung useless at his side, but he still had 2 good arms and 1 club. He was still dangerous. "Come fight me face to face, coward," he yelled in broken human language. Hannah looked at him calmly. She was breathing hard, but not as hard as he was. Sweat covered her face, but she was not tired yet. She could do this for hours if she had to. "No," she said simply. The word echoed. Across the silent arena, 200,000 Corvins heard a human refuse their champion's challenge. Many of them had never heard anyone refuse Thakma anything. Hannah started moving again. This time she went for his good leg, the one he was using to stand. Her sword darted in and out like a striking snake. Cut the muscle here, cut the tendon. They're always moving, never staying still. Thakma tried to follow her, but he was too slow now. His damaged leg made him clumsy. Every time he turned, she was somewhere else. Every time he swung his club, she was already gone. The cuts on his good leg started to add up. First 1, then 5, then 10. His stance got wider as he tried to keep his balance. His swings got wilder as he got more desperate. "She is killing him slowly," the old scarred Corvin said to himself. "Like poison, a little bit at a time." After 30 minutes, Thakma was swaying on his feet. Blood covered his legs and arms. His breathing sounded like a broken engine. His club felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, but Hannah looked almost the same as when the fight started. A little sweaty, a little dirty from rolling in the sand, but her eyes were still sharp. Her movements were still precise. Her sword was still quick. The arena was completely silent now. Even the officers had stopped talking. They watched the human circle, their champion like death itself. Commander Vrextal gripped the arms of his chair so hard his claws cut through the metal. This was not how the story was supposed to go. The human was supposed to be dead by now. Instead, she was slowly destroying the most feared warrior in the Corvin Empire. "How?" he whispered. "How is she doing this?" The answer was simple, but no. Corvin understood it. Humans were not built to be the strongest or the fastest. They were built to outlast everything else. To keep going when other species gave up. To hunt until their prey collapsed from exhaustion. Hannah had turned the arena into a hunting ground. And Thakma was no longer the hunter. He was the prey. After 40 minutes, his good leg finally gave out. He fell to his knees in the sand. His club slipped from his numb fingers. He tried to get up, but his body would not obey him. Hannah stopped moving. She stood 10 feet away from him, her sword ready, but she did not attack, not yet. "Get up," she said in Corvin language. The crowd gasped. She had learned their language during her imprisonment. She had been listening and learning the whole time. Thakma looked at her with hatred and fear. "Kill me," he said. "Finish it." "Get up," Hannah said again. "Show them what their champion really is." Thakma tried. He pushed against the sand with his good arm, his muscles strained, his face twisted with effort, but he could not stand. There was no strength left in his body. He collapsed forward onto his face. His breathing was so loud the whole arena could hear it. Purple blood made dark stains in the yellow sand around him. The silence in the arena was complete now. No one moved. No one spoke. No one even seemed to breathe. Hannah walked slowly toward the fallen champion. Her footsteps were soft in the sand. Her shadow fell across Thakma's body. She raised her sword above her head. The blade caught the sunlight and flashed like silver fire. "Wait," said a voice from the crowd. Everyone turned to look. Commander Vrextal was standing in his place of honor. His face was twisted with rage and humiliation. "This fight is invalid," he announced. "The human used trickery. She did not fight with honor. I declare it void." A murmur went through the crowd. Some Corvins nodded in agreement. Others looked confused. But Arena Master Kothel stepped forward. He was old and had been running fights for 50 years. He knew the rules better than anyone. The fight was fair, he said loudly. Both fighters had equal weapons, both followed the ancient laws. The human has won by right of combat. I am the military commander here, Vrextile shouted. I overrule your decision. You cannot, Kotho replied. The arena laws are older than the Empire. They cannot be changed by military commanders. The crowd was getting restless now. Some supported Vrextile, others supported the arena master. Arguments broke out in the stands, but Hannah ignored them all. She looked up at Commander Vrextile with her cold, steady eyes. Your champion is defeated, she said. Her voice carried clearly across the arena. By your own laws, I have the right of victory. I claim it now. She paused and let her words sink in. I challenge the one who brought me here. The arena exploded in chaos. Corvins were shouting and pushing each other. Some wanted Vrextile to accept, others wanted the human killed immediately. But through all the noise, Hannah's voice cut like a blade. Are you a coward, Commander? Will you let a human shame you in front of your people? Commander Vrextile's yellow eyes blazed with fury. His pride had been wounded beyond healing. In front of 200,000 Corvins, a human had called him a coward. That there was only one answer he could give. I accept your challenge, human, he snarled. And when I kill you, I will make it last for hours. Commander Vrextile jumped down from his place of honor. It was a 20-foot drop to the arena floor, but he landed like a cat. His black armor gleamed in the sunlight. Energy weapons hung from his belt. A plasma sword was in his hand. The crowd went wild. They had never seen a military commander fight in the arena before. This was history happening in front of their eyes. But some of the older Corvins looked worried. They remembered the ancient laws. Once a challenge was accepted, it could not be stopped. One fighter had to die. Even if that fighter was the military commander of the fleet. Hannah stood over Thakma's unconscious body. She was breathing hard from the long fight. Sweat mixed with sand covered her face. Her small sword looked like a toy compared to Vrextile's advanced weapons. You made a mistake, human, Vrextile said, as he walked toward her. Thakma fights with honor. He uses only his strength and simple weapons. But I am a modern Corvin warrior. I have technology. He pressed a button on his armor. A blue energy shield appeared around his body. Then he activated his plasma sword. The blade was made of pure energy. It glowed white-hot and made a humming sound that filled the arena. Your little knife cannot cut through my shield, Vrextile continued. And my sword will burn through anything you use to block it. This fight will be over in seconds. Hannah said nothing. She was studying his equipment. The shield generator was attached to his belt. The plasma sword drew power from a battery pack on his back. His armor had joints at the elbows and knees where it had to bend. She had fought enemies with energy shields before. During the war, some Corvin soldiers used personal shields. Her military training had taught her how to deal with them. Ready to die, human, Vrextile asked. Ready, Hannah said. Vrextile attacked immediately. His plasma sword cut through the air where Hannah's head had been. But she was already moving. The sword hit the sand and turned it to glass. He swung again and again. Each swing was faster than human eyes could follow. But somehow, Hannah was always just ahead of the blade. She moved like water flowing around rocks. Stand still, Vrextile shouted. But Hannah kept moving. She circled him the same way she had circled Thakma. But this was different. She could not wear him down with small cuts. His shield would stop her sword. She needed a different plan. Vrextile was getting frustrated. He was used to winning fights quickly. His weapons were supposed to make him unstoppable. But the human was making him look foolish. Coward, he yelled, fight me properly. Hannah stopped running. She stood still for the first time since the fight began. Vrextile smiled and raised his plasma sword, finally ready to face death. Yes, Hannah said. But not my death. Vrextile charged at her. His plasma sword came down in a perfect killing strike. It would cut her in half from head to waist. But, at the last second, Hannah threw herself forward. She rolled under his swing, and came up inside his shield. The energy field only protected him from attacks coming from outside. It did nothing to stop someone who was already inside it. Her sword found the gap in his armor, at the elbow. She pushed the blade through, and twisted. Vrextal screamed and dropped his plasma sword. But he was not finished. With his good arm, he grabbed Hannah around the waist, and lifted her off the ground. His claws dug into her back. He was trying to crush her ribs. Hannah did not panic. She had been in close combat before. She drove her knee up into his stomach. The armor there was thinner. She felt something give way inside him. Vrextal's grip loosened. Hannah broke free and rolled away. She came up with her sword, ready. Vrextal was hurt but not beaten. He pulled an energy pistol from his belt with his good hand. The weapon charged up with a whining sound. "No more games, human," he said. Purple blood dripped from his mouth. "You cannot dodge energy bolts." He fired. The bolt was faster than bullets. But Hannah was already moving. She had seen him reach for the weapon. She knew where he would aim. The energy bolt missed her by inches. It hit the arena wall and left a smoking crater. Hannah kept running. Toward him, Vrextal fired again. This time the bolt went over her head. She was too close now, too fast. She hit him like a missile. Her shoulder drove into his stomach. They both went down in the sand. The energy pistol flew away from his hand. They rolled and fought in the sand. Vrextal was bigger and stronger. But Hannah was faster and more skilled. She had trained in hand-to-hand combat for 15 years. She knew how to fight someone larger than herself. She got behind him and locked her arm around his throat. It was a chokehold she had learned in military training. Cut off the blood to the brain and the enemy would pass out in seconds. But Vrextal was not human. His neck was thicker and stronger. The hold that would stop a human only slowed him down. He reached back and grabbed her hair. He pulled hard and threw her over his shoulder. Hannah hit the sand hard. The impact knocked the wind out of her lungs. Got to his feet. His shield was still working, but his armor was cracked in several places. Blood covered his left arm where she had stabbed him. "Enough," he roared. "I will tear you apart with my bare hands." He charged at her again. But this time Hannah was ready with her final trick. As he reached for her, she grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at his face. The sand stuck to his shield and covered his eyes. For a moment, he was blind. That moment was all she needed. Hannah dove for his belt. Her fingers found the shield generator. She ripped it free and threw it away. The blue energy field disappeared. Wiped the sand from his eyes, just in time to see Hannah's sword coming at his chest. He tried to dodge, but he was too slow. The blade punched through his armor and into his heart. Commander Vrextal looked down at the sword in his chest. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. He tried to speak, but only blood came out of his mouth. He fell backward onto the sand. His body twitched once, then went still. The arena was completely silent. 200,000 Corvins stared at the human standing over their dead commander. She had killed their greatest champion and their military leader in the same day. Hannah pulled her sword free from Vrextal's chest. She wiped the blade clean on his cape. Then she walked to where his plasma sword lay in the sand. She picked up the energy weapon and tested its weight. It was heavier than her regular sword, but she could use it. The blade hummed to life when she pressed the activation switch. Arena Master Koffel walked slowly onto the arena floor. His face was pale with shock. In 50 years of running fights, he had never seen anything like this. "The human has won," he announced. His voice echoed across the silent arena. "By the ancient laws, she has the right of victory." "What does that mean?" Someone in the crowd shouted. Koth single quotes all looked uncomfortable. "The right of victory is old law, very old. It says that whoever defeats the arena's champion in single combat can claim any prize they want." "Any prize?" Hannah asked. "Any prize, Kothel?" "Confirmed." Hannah looked up at the crowd. 200,000 aliens stared back at her. Fear was in their eyes now. Fear of a single human who had done the impossible. I claim the head of the one who brought me here, she said clearly. As proof of what happens when you underestimate humans, she knelt beside Vrextal's body. The plasma sword cut through his neck like it was made of paper. When she stood up, she held the commander's head by his hair. The crowd made sounds of horror and shock. Some Corvins ran for the exits. Others sat frozen in their seats. But Hannah was not finished. She walked to the center of the arena, where everyone could see her clearly. Listen to me, she said, in the Corvin language. Her voice carried to every corner of the arena. I am one human. One soldier from one ship. I was defending one small colony. And I have killed your champion and your commander. She held up Vrextal's head so everyone could see it. If you continue your war against my people, you will face millions like me. We do not break, we do not surrender, we do not forget, and we do not forgive. She paused to let her words sink in. This is your only warning. Leave human space alone. Find some other species to hunt, because if you keep coming for us, we will hunt you back. And when we hunt, we do not stop until our prey is dead. The arena stayed silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They were looking at something they had never seen before, a human who had turned from prey into predator in front of their eyes. Hannah walked slowly toward one of the exit doors. Her footsteps were the only sound in the entire arena. Blood dripped from Vrextal's head onto the sand behind her. She reached the door and turned back one last time. Remember this day, she said. Remember what one human can do when you threaten her people. Then she walked through the door and disappeared into the shadows. Behind her, the arena stayed silent. The silence would last for a long time. Hannah walked through the arena's dark hallways. She still carried Vrextal's head in one hand and his plasma sword in the other. Corvin guards lined the walls, but none of them tried to stop her. They had all seen what she could do. The old scarred Corvin from the crowd was waiting for her at the main exit. He stood alone, his one good eye studying her carefully. I am Admiral Kethva, he said. This arena is on my planet. Hannah stopped walking. She was ready to fight again if she had to. But the old admiral held up his hands to show he was not armed. I am not here to fight you, human, he said. I am here to ask you a question. What question? Your species is new to us. We know little about humans except that you fight harder than most. Tell me, are there many more like you? Hannah looked at him for a long moment. His question was simple, but the answer would shape what happened next. Billions, she said finally. Every human world has soldiers like me. Some are better, some are worse, but all of them will fight for their people until they die. Admiral Kethva nodded slowly. That is what I feared you would say. He stepped aside to let her pass. Ship is waiting at the spaceport. My people will not stop you from leaving. Why? Hannah asked. Because I am old enough to know the difference between bravery and stupidity, the Admiral said. What happened here today will spread across the galaxy. Every species will hear about the human who killed Thakma and Vrextal. Some will be impressed, others will be terrified. But all of them will remember. Hannah walked past him, toward the exit. But his voice stopped her. Human, he called. What is your real name? Not your rank, your name. Lee Hannah, she said, without turning around. Lee Hannah, Admiral Kethva repeated. I will remember that name. We all will. Outside the arena, a small ship was waiting. It was old and damaged, but it could fly. The pilot was a young Corvin who looked scared. Take me to human space, Hannah told him. Yes, Captain, the pilot said quickly. Admiral Kethva gave orders. I am to take you wherever you want to go. The ship lifted off from Keth Prime. As they flew away from the planet, Hannah looked down at the arena one last time. It looked small from up here. Hard to believe that such a small place could change so much. The flight to human space took 3 days. During that time, news of the arena fights spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Corvin Empire had thousands of communication networks. The story traveled from ship to ship, planet to planet, species to species. A human killed Thakma, the Nakasha. She fought with just a simple sword. She cut off Commander Vrextile's head. She warned the whole empire to stay away from human space. Each time the story was told, it grew a little. But the basic facts never changed. One human soldier had defeated the Corvan Empire's greatest warriors. She had done it alone. And she had walked away alive. On the second day of the flight, the young Corvan pilot received a message on his radio. His face went pale as he listened. "What is it?" Hannah asked. "News from the warfront," the pilot said. 3 Corvan fleets have withdrawn from human space. They are returning to Corvan territory. Why? The fleet commanders say they need to reassess the situation. Hannah almost smiled. The fleet commanders were scared. They had seen what one human could do. Now they were wondering what 1,000,000 humans could do. On the third day, they reached the edge of human space. A patrol ship from the Terran Defense Corps was waiting for them. The human captain's voice came over the radio. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Park Jin of the TDC ship, Rising Star. State your identity and purpose." "This is Captain Lee Hannah." Formerly of the New Dawn, Hannah replied, requesting permission to come aboard. There was a long silence. Then the radio crackled to life again. "Captain Hannah, we thought you were dead. Your ship was destroyed 3 days ago at New Busan." "The ship is dead," Hannah said. "I am not." An hour later, Hannah was on the bridge of the Rising Star. Captain Park Jin was young, maybe 30 years old. His eyes were wide as he listened to her story. "You really killed Thakma?" he asked. "Yes." "And Commander Vrextile?" "Yes." "And they just let you leave?" "They did not have a choice. I won by their own laws." Even Admiral Kethfa understood that. Captain Park Jin shook his head in amazement. "Do you know what this means? You have given us something we never had before." "What?" "Hope. For 3 years, the Corvans have been winning every battle. They seemed unstoppable. But you proved they can be beaten. You proved that humans are not weak." Hannah looked out the bridge window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Corvan fleets were retreating. Somewhere out there, other species were hearing about what happened in the arena. The galaxy was changing because of what she had done, but she was not thinking about fame or glory. She was thinking about her brother Tay, about Park Jina, about all the crew members who had died defending New Busan. "What happened to the colony?" she asked. Captain Park Jin's face fell. "The Corvans took it. The people are gone. We do not know where they were taken." Hannah closed her eyes. She had won a great victory, but it felt hollow. The people she had tried to protect were still prisoners. Her crew was still dead. "But there is good news," Captain Park Jin continued. "Since news of your fight spread, 6 different species have contacted us. They want to form an alliance against the Corvan Empire. The Valdari, the Centaurians, even the Zephyrians, who never talk to anyone. Why? Because you showed them that the Corvans can be defeated. For the first time, these species think they have a chance to win." Over the next few weeks, the changes kept coming. The Corvan Empire tried to keep the arena story quiet, but it was too late. Everyone had heard about Lee Hannah, the human who had walked into the grand arena and walked out with the commander's head. Corvan recruitment dropped by 60%. Young Corvans did not want to fight humans anymore. They had seen what humans could do when cornered. 5 more species joined the new alliance against the Corvan Empire. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. But the biggest change was in human space itself. Before the arena fight, humans had been losing the war. They were scared and divided. Many colonies wanted to surrender rather than keep fighting. Now everything was different. Humans had a hero. They had proof that they could win. Young people lined up to join the military. Weapons factories worked day and night. The human government started planning attacks instead of just defending. 6 months after the arena fight, Captain Lee Hannah stood on the bridge of her new ship, the Retribution. It was the biggest warship humanity had ever built. Its mission was simple: find the Corvan prison ships and rescue the people taken from New Busan. "Captain," Her communications officer said. "We are receiving a message from Admiral Keth. Put it through." The old Corvin's scarred face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and older than before. "Captain Hannah," he said. "I wanted to speak with you before this goes any further." "What do you want, Admiral?" "Peace. The Corvin High Council has authorized me to begin peace talks with the human government. We are prepared to return all human prisoners and withdraw from your territory." Hannah studied his face. "What changed your minds?" Admiral Kethver was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "You did. What happened in the arena showed us something we did not want to see. Humans do not fight like other species. When you are threatened, you do not just defend yourselves. You become something else. Something dangerous." He paused. "We have fought many wars, Captain Hannah. We have conquered many species. But we have never fought a species that could turn every single individual into a weapon. We cannot defeat billions of humans who fight like you fought in the arena." "You should have thought of that before you attacked us," Hannah said. "Yes," Admiral Kethver agreed. "We should have. That was our mistake. Now we must live with the consequences." The peace talks took 3 months. When they were finished, every human prisoner was returned. The Corvin Empire withdrew from human space. They also paid huge amounts of money to rebuild the colonies they had destroyed. But the most important change was harder to see. The galaxy now knew that humans were not prey. They were predators. And when predators were threatened, they hunted. Captain Lee Hannah never forgot the lesson her father had taught her on Docto Station. Sometimes the best way to kill a monster is to make it think you are prey. Then, when it gets close, you show it what you really are. The arena had gone silent when she entered. It stayed silent when she walked out with the commander's head. But the silence had spread far beyond the arena walls. Now the entire galaxy was listening, and what they heard was the sound of humanity rising.